Hey, this is Rom Wills back at you with a direct upload. Yeah, I didn't do this from the car because this was actually inspired. I'm gonna call him a troll because I checked out some of his other comments, right? But like I just did the video about charisma. You need charisma despite your looks, and of course, somebody always comes on there. Usually, I can always tell this is like one of those incel types because they think looks are objective, is objective. And quite frankly, and I don't mean to be offensive, but I just gotta be raw on this. That's usually some like middle class white nerd who actually believes that bullshit, right? And I'm using that in a context, the race thing, because that's a very important context, right? Beauty is subjective. Looks are subjective, right? A lot of times people try to use that golden mean, well, if they both symmetrical on each side and stuff. People can be symmetrical on both sides. It's still not attractive to every single person, right? Looks are subjective. Beauty is subjective, right? To say looks are objective means that if 100 people look at that person, they will find that person beautiful. If 1,000 people, if 1,000,000 people, objective is 1 plus 1 is 2. You can do 1 trillion experiments on that whole truth. Now, I don't care how you do it, what you use to count. You put one thing with another thing and you count it, it will always be 2. That's objective, right? Even in, you could say a popular standard of beauty, but that's still not objective. That is still subjective. For example, Idris Elba was recently voted People's Magazine Sexiest Man Alive, right? And a lot of women go crazy over Idris Elba, right? A lot of people. People use that as an example of a man women go crazy over. But I've met several women who say he look all right or he don't look like all that. They don't see it. But that's their subjective opinion. That's their right, right? And I mentioned the whole white nerd thing, right? The thing is, beauty, looks, and stuff is very much influenced by a person's race, their social class, you know, their nationality, ethnic group. All of those things go into it. For example, it's considered, some people say it's objective that people want, human beings want somebody who's, got certain measurements, that golden mean and, big breast and small waist and, like on a number, but that still don't constitute a universal thing on an objective thing. In Mauritania, they fatten up the women. And each culture determines what's beautiful. Like in like a handsome man in Japan is not seen as the same as a handsome man in Middle America. Once again, a cultural thing, a race thing. Like in Asian culture, like Japan and Korea, the men have more of a pretty boy look, almost a feminized look, which for now is considered attractive. Shoot, even in the United States, if you look at the women like Marilyn Monroe and some of those 50s pinups would be considered fat by today's standards. That's changed. I mean, it's changed. It's changed. Hair, everything, they changed. It's a cultural thing, right? And I mentioned the white nerd thing. And I mentioned that for a specific reason. Even within the white community, the beauty standards aren't the same. Because I've had the experience of being around upper middle class whites, white males, and then the street type of white males. And y'all know what I'm talking about when I say street. You got the low buzz cut, low beard, could probably hang out with some brothers, no problem. Got some tats on them and everything, right? Type you might see in a poor area or trailer park. I've noticed that the type of women that the lower class ones go for and the more upper class goes for are two different things. Even as far as body type. Right? Because you get those upper class ones, yeah, they want those slim women and innocent looking women. Man, you get the more street type, those more hood type white boys. Nah, she better have a butt dunk on her or something. You be seeing those white girls with butt dunks, who you think be hitting it? Who you think be hitting it? And those guys go crazy. You get any brothers out there been around those type of white boys? Shit, they'll tell you. You see a sister coming about the fat ass, the white guys looking too. It's like, damn, girl. Probably bust a rap before you do. But that means it's not an objective thing. Because an upper middle class dude might look at them different. Even between black and white. It's very important. I remember you see how women look in like beauty contests in Western culture, right? Usually slim. Really, quite frankly, in my opinion, that much of a shape. Just they look like they barely reach puberty. But then I was checking out the Africa channel one time, looking at a beauty contest in Nigeria. Man, these were some thick, voluptuous, shapely sisters. I was like, damn. And like I said, in Mauritania, it's a different thing. You go in different parts. Polynesia, you go on those islands, those some thick women. Everybody got something different. And then they got some cultural things. Some people might scar their face or, put plates or, do something with their neck, whatever. But you can't say it's a number because even somebody who has like those numbers and stuff might not be considered beautiful or perceived as beautiful. For example, I've known several bull lesbians who, if you just on just their pure features, might be beautiful if they were more feminine, might be considered beautiful. But you see them because of their energy and stuff, you ain't gonna feel it. Because I knew one I was messing with because she had this guy who was trying to get with her anyway, right? Yeah, definitely something was wrong with the guy though. I seen the guy, something was wrong with him anyway. But she got mad at me playfully because I said, well, I see if you dress up like a girl, you got a fat ass. She's like, fuck you, Ron, fuck you. I mean, it was all in fun, but she was built. And I met a couple like that, but would they be considered beautiful? Would somebody say, oh yeah, that's a beautiful woman, that's a hot girl? Nah, it's subjective though, right? Now, they could probably have the perfect measurements and everything. Because, even perception of beauty, that's subjective, right? Because, I'm the person who's talked about imprints a lot, right? And it's going to be something different. Like this gentleman who made a comment on my most recent video, this troll, he was talking about, well, men like big boobs. I'm not a big boob lover. Just as long as they got enough so I know they female, but I've never been a big boob lover, right? Like a woman who has that, who come in my presence, she got to work hard for me. And that's just how I am. I tolerate it if they cool. But it ain't something I go crazy over. Or even I remember one dude, me, I'm the loafer man. I like that big fat ass and all of that, those thick old sisters or whatever race they gonna be. I like that thickness. But another dude said, well, I like those petite women. Now, objective means we both like the same women. That's what objective means. There is no disagreement. When you use the word objective, it is not a gray area. There are no exceptions in a 1 + 1 is always 2. If you're an objectivist, follow Ayn Rand, A is always A. A is like Z. That's objective. It's always there. The sun will always rise in the east. That's objective. Right? If you are deprived of oxygen, you will die. That's objective. Right? Objective is something you can do an experiment on and you will get the same result every single time. If you think someone's looks is objective, I'm going to give you an experiment. Anybody can do this experiment. Go to, a woman can do this, a man can do this. Take a picture of somebody that you consider very attractive and show that picture to 100 members of the opposite sex. If just one says that picture is not attractive or they don't find a person attractive, then it's subjective. Just one. There's no gray areas. There are no exceptions to 1 + 1 = 2. There are no exceptions. No one can argue. No one with any sense can argue that. That is nothing. For anybody to say that reflects a lack of common sense. And I do get kind of like, I get a little hot with that because usually someone saying it is trying to exercise cultural imperialism. And I don't really talk about race like that on here, but that's usually the case every single fucking time. And I'm like, please. It should be common sense. Everybody, even within the same race, like I mentioned, the upper class white guys and the lower class ones, they can't even agree. They can't even agree. And I've seen that. And anybody who's gone out of the house, got from in front of the fucking computer and used some common sense can see that. It's always subjective. Now, of course, you got some people who they look good to a greater amount of people. Well, yeah, you got that. But then there's always that one person who said no. No. And in fact, even sometimes I use Boris Cujo. A very attractive woman told me, she was like, eh. So it's like, and I shouldn't have to say that, but you got too many people out there, they use measurements, especially a lot of incels. Because one thing they used to do on one of these incel sites, they used to say, well, we're the experts in determining whether or not somebody's attractive, right? And I'm like, well, first of all, a man can't determine if another man is attractive. You need a vagina to do that. Unless you gay. Yeah, I said it. Unless you gay, you can't determine how a woman going to see another man. Even if you gay, you can't determine how a woman is going to see a particular man. Because a lot of stuff is going to go into it. Her imprint, her DNA, the men in her environment, the men in her culture, the men in her race. That's why a beauty contest in Atlantic City is going to have different type of women than a beauty contest in Lagos, Nigeria. Because it's based on so many factors. And those factors are not objective. There's no objective human beauty. Because even you had an experiment, right? Some university did it, and they try to say this is a universal intelligence, this is the universal standard. This is what they even said it. Most of these women agreed to this. But then, because I pointed that experiment out to somebody in a comment thing, right? And I said, but they didn't have any Africans or blacks in that experiment who got to judge. So how's that universal? How do you not include a representation of 20% of the human population, current human population? Seriously. And people need to think about that. Anytime somebody come to me like that, I ain't gonna lie, I just think you're not bright. I think you like common sense. So I want y'all to think about that. Anybody who think that objective thing, ask yourself, is beauty 1 + 1 = 2? Then don't give me numbers, because even with measurements, that don't mean somebody going to see that person as beautiful. Because beauty got to invoke a certain emotion in a person. There's no such thing as a static thing. It's just because you said it. When the Chinese take over the planet, they might put something else as beautiful. And the way the African race is growing, shoot, when we 40% of the world population, might be something different then too. And with all of that, it's still going to be subjective. So anyway, that's all I got for now. I wanted to share that. All right. So anyway, this is it for today. I'll talk to you later. Peace.